Cheers. G'day everyone. Sonia Bernard, Linked by Ink, your independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And for everyone in the United States who celebrates, happy Thanksgiving today. It is Thanksgiving morning. I am filming this video really quickly before I go down and cook dinner. But it's already like 11. I'm running late. Okay, so this week I am going to show you how to make a card we're using the St. Nicholas bundle. Very cute. And we're also using the paper. Where did I put the paper? I ran off with it up here. This paper is still available, and it is the Traditions of St. Nick 12 by 12 online exclusive paper. So if you missed that, it is online, and I checked this morning, it's still available. Okay, and I believe this is maybe on the last chance list, don't quote me, but if you want to grab it, you can check that last chance list on my Facebook page. It's up on there. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera down and we are going to get started just as soon as I do these little... What is happening today? There we go. Just turn the camera down and let's begin. So this is a fun technique that I happen to see on the Stampin' Up! Facebook group, and I got inspired by what I saw there, and it's kind of on how to make like a vintage looking card. So I created this using that other card, the layout from that other card. I've just changed things. I've changed the embossing folder I used, I changed the paper, I changed the image, I changed the ribbon I used, but the layout is the same. And then I did this differently than what they've done, this second layer here. So, you know, if you see something, get inspired and go do it. It's okay to copy, but you can also just use it as your inspiration and change it to make it your own. Now, I wanted to show you the difference of, this is actually die cut from that DSP right here, but this is the same products other than that image there. And look at the difference in the cards. Isn't that fun? So I'm going to show you how we get this from this, okay? And we will get started, and our base card is in crumb cake, and that's a 4 1/4 by 11 inch piece scored at 5.5 of just regular crumb cake cardstock. And then we are going to get our 5.5 by 4, and this is very vanilla, and I've already embossed everything and die cut everything, because if you're watching this, you probably know how to do all that stuff already, so I don't want to waste time rehashing everything. But we've embossed this with this Snowflake 3D embossing folder right there. And then we have got a piece of that DSP, and we've just gone down by 1/4 inch, so now it's 5 by 3 3/8 for that fun paper. So I grabbed the paper in the pack. It's so pretty in there. I grabbed the paper that didn't have any coloring because I thought that would just work perfectly. Then we have the Nested Essentials dies, and using the second biggest die here, the banner die, and also using the Timber 3D embossing folder. Now you can use any embossing folders you like, it does not matter, but I die cut this first. No, I embossed it first and then I die cut, because when you roll it through, it does flatten it down a little bit. So I thought if I did it the other way, it might flatten it more, but I don't know. You can try it out, but I embossed first and then I die cut that piece, and that is in crumb cake. And then you will also need, you can use any kind of ribbon that you have. I used a different one than what was used. I used this from the annual catalog, and it is called Natural Wavy Trim, like this. Okay. And then we also need the dies that go in the bundle. Where are they? Of course I've lost them. Oh, they're right in front of me. Here we go. This is the St. Nicholas dies. And we are going to need this one here to cut out our St. Nicholas. And you can see that from the paper, the die matches that designer series paper perfectly. That's how I cut this guy out. Isn't that so cool? I love when they do that. I love it. Okay. And we're actually going to stamp. This one here is actually stamped and colored. So we're going to stamp that, and then it would be die cut with that one. Okay. Okay. So when you're using coloring, if you're using a water base to do your coloring, which is what we're going to be doing today, because we're using water paint markers, water markers, and ink, which is all water based, you're going to want to put your image in something that will not smudge with that. So you're going to want to use a StazOn. A StazOn is an alcohol based. So whenever we're coloring, you want the opposite of the base for what you're coloring. If you're using an alcohol blend like our Stampin' blends, then you're going to want a water base for the image. Okay, you got that? So water-based image equals alcohol coloring. Alcohol image equals water-based coloring. Opposites is what we need. So we're just going to really ink this up good with our StazOn. And I'm using the, what's it called? Saddle Brown, which I don't pull out very often. But when I saw this technique, I was like, oh, I'm not using black. We want this really to look like that real vintage look. And I actually did add some color to my image, but I still wanted it to look vintage. So we just stamp that down. Now when you're cleaning your stamp, you do need, this is our Stampin' Mist, which we clean our water-based stamps with, but because this is alcohol based, you will want to clean your stamp with a StazOn cleaner. This is a separate cleaner that we sell. Excuse me. Of course the allergies just won't stop, even for Thanksgiving. So you just stamp that out, and then you're going to die cut it out, okay? And then I'm going to take you through on how I created the look for the coloring, and then we'll do the whole entire card. So this does take a minute. Now, doing this is a very quick and easy card. Doing it with all the, like giving it that vintage look is going to take a little bit longer, but it's a little more relaxing too. So you want to start with the water quite thin. You don't want a thick color, the water thin, you know what I mean. You don't want to put a lot of color in there. You want it light, because we're going to give this, whoops. And here's a tip too, you can always put another pen under there and it'll stop it from falling down. So we're going to actually give this a light brush with everything here with this color. This is how I did it. You can do it any way you want, but I just got this crumb cake and I kind of gave it a light brush. Now in the directions that I saw, it said let dry and build the color. Well, me being me and not having any patience, I was like, what happens if I just go and color the whole thing in? Because they didn't use, they just used browns, but I wanted to add that touch of color just to give it a little pop. So I grabbed a real red. I was like, I'm trying to keep the same markers with the same ink, because it still has, I haven't cleaned them and it still has the red on there. So if you're not sure how to do this, I call it, you give it CPR. So when the stamps pad is closed, you literally punch, interlock your fingers and push as hard as you can, and that will press some of the ink from the ink pad onto the lid. Excuse me, sorry, you know my allergies. And another way you can do it is just grab the ink refiller and put a drop there. But this is better because you can kind of use it as, you know, like to swipe stuff up. If only we had something, you know, where we could put some ink and be able to do this a little easier. So we're just going to make this very, very transparent. Maybe that's the word I was looking for. You really don't want a lot of color. And here we'll just do his little hat and the coat. So it's just giving it a hint of color. I don't want a lot, because if you put too much, it's not going to have that worn vintage look that we're going for. So we're going to do this part. And I'm just going over the top of everything. I'm not waiting for it to dry because I don't have time for that. And I think I accidentally made his boots red on one of them, and so I just changed it by going over top. That's plenty of color right there. So that was using real red. Now I'll hold that up so you can see what I'm doing. Let me catch up with my video. You know, you've got that 20-second. I want to make sure I'm actually holding it in the camera. Am I going the right way? Let me go down a little bit. Oh, yeah. It's hard because you can't see where the dot is. You're kind of like guessing where the camera is. So hopefully you can see that. Okay. So that was the real red. And then I used an old olive. And to me, these are vintage Stampin' Up colors too. So I was just like, I will go with these. You kind of could have used a cherry cobbler too. That would work. And again, you really just a little bit of that ink. You don't want a lot. More water, because you just want a subtle look. So I use this on the tree part here. Oops, that was a lot of water. There we go. And maybe a little bit more green. And here it's pretty brown. You're not really going to see a lot of green. Just a hint of color is what I'm going for. Less is more. You don't want to put too much on, because then we're not going to have that fun vintage look, okay? Next, we're going to go back to our, oh, I haven't even gone to it yet. We're going to pull out our pecan pie. I'm actually doing this card in a different order than what I made it yesterday. So we're going to grab our pecan pie brush here, which is probably this one. And exact same thing, we're going to put some water down and just get a little bit of color in there. And with this one, I did his boots and then his bag and the sack. So did the boots here, want them a little bit darker. How this is so relaxing too, honestly, this watercoloring. And then the little sachet. Now if you want, you could just do this whole image brown, which is what was done on the card that I got my inspiration from. There was no extra color. They just did it in different layers of browns. But I just wanted something a little different. And there's the little, we could just make that a little darker too, his toys. There we go. So you can see we've got some color in there, but it's very, very muted, and that's exactly what we're looking for. We don't want it bright like the other ones. Now we're just going to set this aside to dry for a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and work on the card base. And for that, you're going to need a blending brush, and we're going to bring our pecan, however you want to say it, pie, back in. And we're going to start with the card base. We're doing a lot of blending now. So when you blend, circles, tap, 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 tap off the excess, circles as you're coming on. You see, I'm not putting my finger here. I'm not pressing. I'm just doing lightly, and I'm just making the corners a little darker there. circles, tap, tap, come on in. And the reason you want to start coming in from off here is because if you put it straight down onto your whatever you're coloring, sometimes you'll get those brush marks on there, which you really don't want. So we'll just do that in circles. And I might do a little bit on the edges here. I didn't do that on the other one, but I think I kind of want a little bit more all around. There we go. Now you can just do it as light or as dark as you want. Now this next one, the one that the very vanilla that we've run through the embossing folder, we've got the snowflakes. You're only going to be able to see a small portion of this. So you don't need to do a lot. You just need to do around the edges. So again, just circles, and we're just going to come on in. And this would actually be fun if we didn't cover it all up. You could, if you wanted, use this as your base and don't put the paper and then just put the Santa here. That would look super cute too. So there's actually several ways that you could do this card and it would look super cute. Now if I was doing that, I would do the entire background. And so I'll make that. There we go. Now our piece of DSP, we're going to get that and we are going to color the whole thing. And you can make this as light or as dark as you want. Doesn't matter. It's up to you. Some of it's getting covered up. Some of it's not. Again, just circles. And I just try to go fast. Get that ink on there. And this you can build up. So, you know, you can make it darker by just coming back on and adding more on top of it. Now, I like how, you see how it's a little bit uneven? I actually like that because I don't want it exactly the same, because when things wear, they do wear unevenly, I think. So now we've got our little flag thing, and this one we're going to go heavy on. And so this is on the crumb cake, but we're putting pecan pie ink on top of it. There we go. Give it a good once over. Then this is still a little damp. What we're going to do without inking it, we've got ink on here. We're going to run this over top. It's got some pecan pie on it still, and I want to give that a little bit more of a muted look, but we can still see the color through it. So we end up with this. This one's dry. Okay. Okay, next, we'll keep this handy because I'm actually going to do a little bit more, but next we need our paper snips. Of course, they're down here at the end of the table because I was quickly whipping up this other card this morning. I just had that thought this morning. I was like, I wonder what it would look like just if it wasn't vintage look, you know, just throw it in, throw it down and see what happened. So we're going to get our scissors, and on these 3 pieces, we are going to just scratch that up. And if you cut it like that, don't worry about it. It actually will look good. So what I do is do like half the card towards me like this. And then going along this edge, going along this edge, like that. And then turn it because I want this side of the blade of the scissors, and do it this way. Because you can do this however you want. Doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong way. And it is going to make a little bit of a mess. You're going to maybe get a little bit of fluff there as you're pulling these paper fibers apart. And you don't want it to be pretty. If you can get it a little bit more uneven, even better. You can go back in where you did it. See, I did a little cut. Just press a little bit and get those corners all messed up. Just be careful. You see I have a band-aid. I already poked myself while getting the seed out of my avocado this morning. Like, right with the knife. Don't use a knife to get your avocado seed out. Not the right way to go about it. And you can kind of bend them and, you know, even bend it back a little, because we're not actually going to glue the edges down. Now, you've got that. And look at this mess. You see what I mean? I don't know if you see all those little fibers everywhere. Now, with this paper, it's a little thinner, so I would go a little lighter, but you still want to mess it up, because we want it worn and frayed, and we don't want it new. Did you ever do that, like when you were in school? What did we use? Tea bags or coffee or something? And we would color the paper, like make the water brown and then dunk the paper in it to give it this look. I don't know. I did grow up in Australia. We're a little weird. Okay. So this is your longest part. So if you want to make this card, but you want to do it quicker, and you don't want to like do the edges, then you could just like do the first, you know, the other card I showed you where I used the cutout from the DSP. So you're not even inking or coloring. You're just, the color's already made. You're just literally putting it on some dimensionals and popping it on the card. So it depends. You know, this one is more a labor of love, and it's going to go towards those people, you know, I think that you love maybe a little more, you know. So, and now I do want to get a little bit rougher with that after I've done the first initial one. Whoop, little tear. That's where you love tears. This is like, yes, it tore beautifully. So, rough that up. Again, you can make it how you want it, as torn up as you want it. And then we're going to do the same with this little banner. So this is what takes some doing. You see I'm kind of just like chopping almost. Okay. And if you sped up during this part, well, you won't know that I'm saying this because you sped up. But I get it, because it's going to be a little bit monotonous here. So you just want to make it look like it's messed up. Old. Not messed up, it's just old. There we go. Okay, big mess here. We're going to move that away. Get that mess off my blending brush. Now what I did here, because I saw, well, this is all, I don't know if you can see that, but this is all white here. And I'm like, that does not give the illusion of vintage, if you can see the white part. So I got my blending brush again, and I went back in, and I just did this like this to the edges. And I rolled them in, like I'm literally pushing them in with the blending brush, like this, to make it, to cover that white up. We want vintage. And if you want to hold it up, you can do it like this too. You see how that makes that difference? Now you've got the brown around the edges, and do that with this as well. I think it's actually easier if you just have it on the table. Just like that. Covers it up nicely. It also defines those edges. I think I've actually done it better here today than I did last night when I made this card. It looks a little better. There we go. There. And lastly, on this one, just get those edges. Nice. Love it. Now we just simply assemble. So with this one, You know how like old paper peels up, you know, because the glue is all old and worn out. So when we're gluing this down, we're only going to want to put glue in the center. We're going to leave all those edges at least like, what is that, 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch. Don't glue that down. Just glue the center part down. I'm going to put it at a bit of an angle like this. And like I said, you could probably make the card. I actually put it upside down on this one, but it does not matter. Most of it's getting covered up anywho. But you could almost do this and have the card just like that. That works too. I mean, like fill the rest of this in. Even that looks cute. Okay, but if you're going to do that, you're going to want to put your string on before you get to that point. So here's what we're doing with our string. Now this is this wavy trim, right? And you could just wrap it around like that, but it's too neat. We want it to look old and tattered is what we're going for, which is what we've got here. So when I've already done some of it, but I cut a piece, like, so I measured it for how long I need to wrap it around this entire bow. I've actually already pulled one strand out of this. But what you do, I think it's 4 strands. Yeah, there's 4 strands around this centerpiece, and the centerpiece looks like a braid. I don't know if you can see that, but there's this piece compared to, let me get what a regular piece looks like, the other 4 pieces. This piece compared to this piece. You see one is like braided right here. So I'm actually not going to use that part, but that's the center of this ribbon. That's what's holding this together right here. You can see it in the middle. It's the thing that's going straight down the middle. So to get your ribbon that you need, you're just going to grab one of these strings, right? Grab this string, start pulling it. And then with the other hand, you're going to pull this down. So you're pulling up with one, down with the other, and kind of just snaking it down there. And voila. Okay, so you'll do that, and you'll want 3 of those. And you can see, I don't know if you can see there, that big one in the middle, that's the one that we're not going to use. So the others are kind of wrapped around that. And you could just pull them out. It's super easy. I thought it was going to take a long time because I saw this other one, the one that I saw, when she's like using the take your pick tool and everything. I'm like, there's got to be an easier way. This is it. So there you go. So you need 3 of them. We may as well use these 2. And we'll get another one. And we'll just simply pop them, the 3 of them, wrap it around here. The hardest part is getting them the same kind of length when you're making the bow. There we go. We're not even going to trim it. Well, you can if you want to. Now, don't pull too tight because otherwise you'll pull the paper up. And don't even, the wonderful thing about this, if it turns out messy, that's great. Like, we don't want it neat. This is the one time we just want a hot mess is fine. And then we're going to glue this down. And again, we're going to do the same thing with gluing. Just leaving, on this one, we're just going to leave those little edges up about 1/4 inch there. And just glue the middle part. And then this one can pretty much go on straight up and down. And there we go. Then we're going to take our little banner, this guy here, and we're going to glue this down. I'm going to get our center and kind of move that a little bit. Okay, so we're going to put some glue on the back of this one. And again, I'm like leaving a little bit of the edge. I made this one a lot more tore up, I think, because after the first time, I think the first time you do it, you're a little bit more tentative, and then you do it a couple of times, and you're just like, okay, let's have at this thing. Now, if you don't like your corners sticking up like that, you can put glue, but I like this one even. This one's even turning out better than the first, in my opinion. Like, I'm loving it, loving the way it looks. And even, you know what, if you want, You can even like break this guy up a little bit because he looks kind of crisp. Let's get our bone folder. I'm going to just try something. I want him to look a little bit more broken up. Does that make sense? A little bit more worn. Because the rest of the card looks a little bit more, like I want it more crinkled. There we go. Oh, I'm liking this. See how this guy looks? He looks pretty fresh. Oh, I don't want him to look fresh. I want this card to look like it's been beat up a little bit. So, I kind of like this. Just breaking up those fibers and it softens the paper. And it's put in some wrinkle. I'm intentionally wrinkling it. I mean, if you wanted to, you could probably scrunch it as well. I don't think I want to go that far with this image because I still want the image there. But, oh, you could even stick your fingernail in it. There we go. I'll give it a little bit of a dimpled look. There we go. I like it. And just do you. If you want that nice, crisp, fresh look, then do that, okay? I'm just playing around here and just doing what speaks to me. Everybody's different. Everyone's view on what they think is cute is going to differ. There's stamp sets that I look at, I'm like, oh no, I'm not a fan. And there are other people like, oh, that's one of my favorite. You know, we all see things differently. So just see it through your eyes because there's no right or wrong. And I don't know if you can see the differences in these two. This one's, I went a little darker with the ink. So you can switch it up. And I just like how he looks a little bit more beat up than this guy. I don't know if it comes across on here, but that's what we did. And then we put some bling to finish it up. Where's my bling? It's hiding in this mess over here. And I used the brushed metallic adhesive backed dots. And we just put a large one down there. And then I just grabbed one here. I'll grab another one here. And there we go. There is our card. And all you have to do if you want to get it out of his face there is just turn. It's very easy. It's very forgiving to work with. And there we go. We're going to call that our vintage look Christmas card using the St. Nicholas stamp set bundle. Oh, I hope you love it. I hope you give it a go. Let me know what you think in the comments. Remember that I still have a card class available free with purchase, available to the 27th of November. You can go see that on my YouTube channel. It's the Very Cute Throughout the Years card class. And then look for a Black Friday special coming tomorrow. Okay, guys, take care. Have a great one. Be safe. Happy Thanksgiving.